Yeah, good. So again, welcome everybody to the April general meeting for IJ Action. It's great to see everyone here tonight. Good to see so many people in space. And again, feel free to put in the chat your name, where you're zooming in from. And as a reminder, again, we're recording this call so that way we can send it out to members who are unable to attend tonight. But it's just good to see everyone here in person and holding space. So that said, what tonight's events look like is we'll go ahead and do a brief overview of the agenda, which will start off with some member announcements, and then we'll head over into some committee updates. And we'll round off with the main program tonight, which is a discussion about ACA 4 and our upcoming elections committee hearing in Sacramento. And then we'll round out the night with just some calls to action and a closing. So we got some wonderful information tonight on this transformative legislation and how folks can be involved and also help support ACA 4 and other work that we're doing here in California. So should be very informative. So with that, I'll go ahead and share my screen. There we go. And I'm always inspired by this picture from our holiday party that we had in our office. So again, I'm sure everybody knows who we are. This is IJ Action, and IJ Action mobilizes the power of people impacted by incarceration to advance progressive policies in California. And we're here to be at the table and to ensure that there's no conversations about us without us. So great to be organizing with you all. And as I mentioned, we'll do some welcomes and introductions. So feel free to drop those in the chat. I've seen some coming in already. We'll then move into those member announcements, the committee updates, the main program, which is ACA 4.
We're gonna go in the car.
And also calls to action in the close. So with that, I guess I'll get started on the membership announcements for April. So with our April membership announcements, we want to take time to shout out all of our new members, because for folks who choose membership, you're invested in the organization is investing in you, and we're all investing in safer communities, as well as a proper ways to address, systemic harms that we see with the system of incarceration here in California. So our new members that we have are Neva M, Melissa S, Destiny R, Ruth S, Matthew B, Napoleon S, Anna L, and Irma C. So thank you all, and congratulations on being IJ Action members. So great to see those numbers increasing. And we want to ask everyone on the call to please have your friends and family, also other allies and people who are in these spaces to fill out that application, be a part of the work that we have going on here at IJ Action. And this amazing work that's going on here. We always looking for like-minded folks who are intersectional and who believe in abolitionist principles to be a part of these spaces. So if you know folks, get in touch with them and ask them to become members. While we're talking about membership, I'll do a brief overview of our membership structure. So here at IJ Action, we have two forms of membership. The first is supportive members. And supportive members are folks who've completed their membership application and participate in meetings and support whenever possible. On the other hand, we have active members, and active members are folks who've completed their membership application, paid annual dues, completed new member orientation. They commit to attending monthly general meetings like this one, sign up for at least one committee, and sign our membership pledge. So shout out to all of our members. And the difference between the two forms of membership really is capacity. Of course, we hope that folks choose active membership, but we understand that people are doing a lot in these spaces and working, parenting, everything else. So we do have that supportive role for folks who just want to support the work and be involved in other ways. So yes, that's important to know, is we have different forms. So we have something for everybody. And so while I'm talking, I guess I'll go ahead and start off with our committee updates for April. And yeah. And so my name is Jay again, for those who don't know me, and I am the chair of the Membership and Outreach Committee. So I'll give the Membership and Outreach Committee update. The Membership and Outreach Committee is responsible for community organizing, outreach training, and recruiting for IJ Action. And our updates currently is that we're developing membership recruiting strategies to help IJ Action move to the next level and transform these progressive policies here in California, as well as the power dynamic. We're also building committee infrastructure and finalizing our civic engagement presentations so that members can conduct their own personal in-person presentations in spaces that they know, places where their members are part of in other schools and other settings. So if you want to be a part of that style of organizing and be a part of the work and taking it to the community, please sign up for the Membership and Organizing Committee. And you can do that by emailing me, J@IJ Action, or contacting me in any way, or info@IJ Action. And our next committee meeting is on May 9th at 6:30 to 7:30, the same time slot. So please be in contact and be informed. And so with that, I'll pass it on to my colleague, Emiliano, and I believe he's going to give the next update.
Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Emiliano Lopez. I go by he, him pronouns. I'm the communications and data manager for IJ Action. And our committee updates is that we met last week. We sent out a doodle to see what times would work best for our committee. So just be on the lookout for that email. It's a doodle. Just jot in the time and date that works for you. Some updates that we do have is on the comms committee for the Free the Vote campaign. We're working on a social media toolkit that will be released. So as soon as I have it, I'll share it out to the groups, so everybody else would have it. So just remember the Free the Vote campaign. Follow it on Instagram. If you don't have it, I'll throw it in the chat. But that's all I got. Hope y'all are doing well. I'll pass it on to Jay.
Hey, thank you, Emiliano. I appreciate that succinct and informative update that you're giving. And so with that, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the share for a second while we move into our next portion of the evening, which will be our main presentation. And so also just want to take a little time to let folks know that due to the legislative mobilization in Sacramento next week, that our membership training for April is canceled. So I updated that within folks' calendar. So if you've seen that update, that's what that was. And it will resume next month. So you'll also see that later on in the updates. But just wanted to make sure to let folks know that we will resume next month, but we're just having a major mobilization for this elections committee hearing. And so that said, we'll go ahead and move into our next portion. And I'm gonna go ahead and pass it to Taina.
Thanks, Jay. Hey, everybody. How's it going? All right. So one of the main moments that we've been waiting for a long time with ACA4 is we are moving through our first committee hearing, which is really exciting. So just to give a little bit of context, a little bit of background for anybody who might be new or anybody who just needs a refresher on this process. IJ Action is a proud co-sponsor of Assembly Constitutional Amendment 4, which is an amendment moving through the legislature that, if passed, would place an initiative on the November 2024 ballot to restore voting rights to people in prison. This is an extension of the work that we started several years ago with Prop 17 and restoring voting rights to people on parole. And we always said that we were going to come back and finish the job and restore voting rights for people who are currently in state and federal prison. And now we're trying to do that. If passed, California would become the third state in the country that has effectively ended felony disenfranchisement. Right now, only Maine and Vermont allow you to vote while you're incarcerated in state prison. So we would be the state with the largest population and the most diverse population, and this will surely have an impact in other states across the country. So this is a really huge deal. And in terms of the process, folks who've gone through the Institute probably know this already, but all legislation has to follow a certain process. It starts off in a policy committee. So since ACA 4 has to do with elections, the policy committee that it's going to is the elections committee. It then has to go to a fiscal committee because it's going to cost money. So then it'll have to go to the appropriations committee. Then it'll go to the assembly floor and be heard by all assembly members. And then it'll have to repeat the process in the second house of the legislature, meaning it will have to go to the Senate Elections Committee, Senate Appropriations Committee, and the Senate floor. Those are the steps it'll need to take to pass. ACAs, unlike regular bills, don't need to be signed by the governor. So we just need to make it out of the legislature. However, we do need 2/3 vote off of the floor. We only need a majority in the committee, but on the floor, we do need a 2/3 vote. So this is going to be a really a heavy lift. It's going to be a huge effort. And that is why we are going to need everybody's effort, everybody's contributions to getting ACA 4 passed. So this is the first step of this long process, but we need people to be engaged. So the date for the elections committee hearing is next Wednesday, April 19th. So just over a week away. Many of us will be actually going to Sacramento. So me, Jay, Emiliano, Shervin, I think Roberto and Stephanie from our team are also going to be there. I think folks like Yolanda and Taylor said that they're also going to be able to make it. So a lot of us will be there in person. We'll participate in the hearing. And then once the hearing is over, oh, Miss Yolanda, it's your birthday. Okay, good to know. Good to know. So glad that you're going to be there. We'll be there to participate in the hearing. And then afterwards, we are also going to be doing some legislative visits. We're going to have a lobby day. We're trying to schedule visits with like 40 assembly members that day. So for those of us who are going to be in Sacramento, it's going to be a really big day. But if you cannot make it to Sacramento, that is okay. There are still ways that you can be involved and you can help us get out of the committee. You can go back to that slide, Jay. You can still help us pass ACA 4 out of committee, and that's what this presentation is going to be about. So this is the overview of the members who are on the Assembly Elections Committee. The chair is none other than our amazing author, Assembly Member Isaac Bryan. So we feel pretty confident about getting his vote. There's 8 members here. We need 5 of them to vote yes. Assembly Member Tom Lackey is the vice chair. For those of y'all who don't know him, he's a Republican, former law enforcement, former CHP. He has already made it very clear. He's talked to multiple, news publications saying that he is very much against ACA 4. So we're confident that we will not be getting his vote. But Steve Bennett, we feel like we'll get his vote. Bill Asaley is also a Republican, so we're not sure about his vote. But Assembly members Alex Lee and Evan Lowe are co-authors of ACA 4, so we feel pretty good about getting their votes. Miguel Pellerin and Blanca Rubio are also folks who need to be worked. So if you live in any of these members' districts in particular, in addition to what we're going to be asking everybody to do, if you live in these people's districts, we'll ask you to give them a call before the hearing and ask them to vote yes. But if you don't live in any of these districts and you still want to be able to participate, you will be able to do that. So on this slide here, this is the link that'll take you directly to the Assembly website and all of the hearings. So if you go to that website at, we didn't say the time for the hearing yet. The hearing begins at 9 a.m. So if you go to this website at 9 a.m. on Wednesday, April 19th, you'll be able to watch the hearing. However, we should know we've been told that our bill is going to be heard closer to the end of the committee hearing. The way that the committees usually go is, there's a list of bills that are on the agenda to be heard. There's many bills that are scheduled to be heard this day, and they go in a certain order. The very last person who presents on his bills or his or her bills is the chair of that committee. So since Assemblymember Brian is the chair of the Elections Committee, he will be the last person to present on his bills. He has several bills that day. I think he's got like 4 or 5 bills that he has to present on. And he did let us know that ACA 4 will be the first of his bills, but it'll still be like the 4th to 5th last bill in the committee. So just keep in mind, if you tune in at 9 a.m., when you click on the website though, and you click on the hearing, it'll show you the agenda. So you'll see the order that everything's going to be heard in, but we've already been given a heads up that this will almost be the last bill to be heard. So I still advise like logging on as early as you can, especially if you're going to be calling into the committee hearing. That way you can, get a sense for how the hearing is going. You can hear other people who are calling in and giving what's called their Me Too's. And just kind of like get a vibe for it. Jay, you can go to the next slide. Thank you. So there's a few things that you can do even before the committee hearing. So the first thing that we're going to ask everybody to do is to bump up ACA 4 on your social media. So the Free the Vote Coalition is going to be putting together a social media toolkit. So it's going to have like graphics and sample tweets and everything for you to be able to share. So first of all, if you don't follow Free the Vote on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, go ahead and do that now. The handle is at Free the Vote CA. If anybody, maybe Emiliano or somebody could maybe drop the handle in the chat, that would be super helpful. But that's something you can do right now. Go ahead and open up your social media accounts and follow Free the Vote on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. They're on TikTok as well. So keep an eye out for for anything that they're posting. You can just repost it. And if you go to our website, which is cafreethevote.org, the toolkit will be available there as well. So if you want to go ahead and copy and paste this link, bookmark it right now, all of the social media information will be there. And then another thing that we're going to be asking everybody to do is actually call into the committee to give a public comment or what is called a Me Too in support of the bill. And I'm going to go into that in detail in the next slide. But then moving forward, like after the committee hearing, our coalition outreach committee is going to be working with folks and letting people know like who the target legislators are once we, make it to the appropriations committee and the floor. So we'll also be reaching out to folks and asking you to do in-district meetings with your representatives and asking them to support ACA 4. So that's something that'll happen sometime after this hearing. But before the hearing, follow Free the Vote on social media, bookmark the Free the Vote website so that you can access the toolkit, share everything that you can. And then the day of the hearing, you can call into the committee and give your Me Too. Are there any questions so far before I move into the how to actually call in and give your Me Too? And you can just unmute or raise your digital hand or throw them in the chat. Okay, great. Jay, can you give me the next slide, please? All right, so before I go into, or before we play this video, the legislature actually has like a little video that explains like how to call in to give your Me Too. But the way that the committee hearings go is when the bill comes up, the author will come up to the desk and give a presentation on the bill. So Assemblymember Isaac Bryan will come up and he'll give a speech explaining what ACA 4 is, why it's necessary, and why he's asking for a yes vote. And then we'll have 2 witnesses in support who will speak in favor of the bill. And the witnesses that we have lined up are Rasan Thomas, who's a board member of Initiate Justice, and was one of the people who originally thought of restoring voting rights for people in prison. He just got released from prison back in February. So this will be his first time in Sacramento. So that's exciting. And then the other person speaking will be Adriana Griffith, who is staff at Initiate Justice and on the board of IJ Action. She's formerly incarcerated survivor who will be sharing a little bit about her story and why it's important for impacted folks to have their right to vote as well. And then we'll have a technical witness from the ACLU who can answer any legal or technical questions. They'll be available as well. So they'll give their testimony and support. And then the person who's chairing the committee, which will probably be the vice chair because the chair will be presenting his bill, will ask if there are any other witnesses in support. And at that point, anybody who's in the audience can walk up to the microphone and give their support in the form of what's called a Me Too. Now, when you give your Me Too, it's very like a very specific format that they ask for. If you come up to the microphone or if you're calling in to give your Me Too, you don't come up and give your whole story and say, you know, I'm this person and this is why I think you should support this because it's such an important bill, blah, blah, blah. Nope, you don't do that. All you say is three things: name, organization, position on the bill. That's it. If you do anything more than that, the chair will cut you off. You'll embarrass yourself. And, you know, inevitably there's always somebody in committee who, you know, goes off on a tangent, and you don't want anybody to do that. You don't want to be that person. So that's why we're going through this, so that you can get practice. So after the people in the room give their support, then the chair will say, okay, are there any witnesses in opposition? If there are witnesses in opposition, there's 2 or 3 people who can come up and give their testimony in opposition. They'll have up to 5 minutes to give their story, you know, their reasons for opposing. And then the chair will ask if there's anybody in the room who would like to come up and give their opposition. And people in the room can come up and say just those 3 things: name, affiliation, position. They oppose. After everybody in the room has had the opportunity to give testimony or to give their Me Too in support or in opposition, then they'll open up the phone lines. So anybody who is at home then will have the opportunity to call in, and the number to call in will be available on the Assembly website the day before or the morning of the committee hearing. So we don't have that phone number now. They always post it right before, and there's an access code. But if you're watching the hearing, you can watch it on your computer, but you can also be listening to it on your phone. You'll call in, and once you're prompted to, you know, give your testimony, the chair, what they're doing now with the phone calls is they used to separate it between like support and opposition. Now they just do them all together. They just open up the phone lines and they only give people 15 minutes on the phone. So we want to flood it with support. We don't want there to be any room for any opposition. We want everybody who's calling in, who's first in line, to be people who are calling in support. So that's what we're going to be asking you all to do. And then again, once the operator calls your number, and we'll explain what that means, you just say Taina Vargas, Initiate Justice Action, in support. That's it. Period. Nothing more, nothing less. But before I show the video, maybe just like show of digital hands. Is there anybody here who has called in to a committee before to give their Me Too? Okay. Efrain, sure. And okay, see Vanessa, Emiliano. Okay, cool. Is there anybody who's given their Me Too before who wants to, like, I don't know, give a little bit of advice or something like that in terms of like what to do or what not to do when you call in?
I think Emiliano had volunteered in the chat. I'm not sure.
Oh, I just volunteered to do a sample of Me Too, but yeah, no, when I did it when I gave my Me Too over the phone, it goes by quick, so you have to be paying attention. So that's like number one, because you can be easily passed up. So you'll hear like caller X, and they'll be talking to you. They'll be like, are you ready to give your statement, your public comment? And then that's when you go. But it happens quick, so you got to be on point. So it's like you'll be holding for a long time, you know, probably just chilling on the computer or whatever, and then all of a sudden someone's talking to you.
Mhm. Yep, that's very, very true. Go ahead, Yolanda, I saw your hand up.
Make sure that if you're watching it on the TV or the laptop, when you're calling in, make sure that the volume is down so there's no feedback and they can hear you clearly.
Yes, absolutely. Because you've got to be doing both. If you want to be watching it, you got to watch it on a laptop or something like that. But if you're listening to it on the phone, and this video is going to go into that too, there's like a 30 to 40 second delay. So make sure that what you're hearing on the phone is coming first. That's more accurate. So you will probably be called to give your testimony before, like if you're watching on the computer or something like that, you'll be called on the phone before you see it happen on the computer. So definitely pay attention to that. But yeah, before we go into any more do's and don'ts, why don't we go ahead and play this video so y'all know what we're talking about. So Jay, go ahead.
Okay, let me know if y'all can hear it fine.
Comments using the telephone system.
Well, I can't hear it anymore. I heard it in the beginning and now I don't hear it anymore.
When you
Okay,
call,
let me,
you are placed in a here's how to offer public comments using the telephone system during Senate committee hearings. Call in using the toll-free phone number and access code, which is specific for each committee hearing. These numbers will be announced by the chair during the hearing and can be found on the committee's website 24 hours in advance of the hearing. When you call, you'll be placed in a waiting room where you will be muted, but you can listen to the committee hearing while you wait. It's very important to note that when you call in, you should mute the device upon which you are watching the committee hearing. There is an approximately 40-second time lag between the phone and video stream. In order for you to stay in real time and to know when you're being prompted to give testimony, you must listen through your phone and not follow the live video. When the committee moves to public comment on a specific bill, a moderator will ask for anyone wishing to testify in support to press 1, then 0. When the committee moves to opposition, the moderator will prompt those in opposition to press 1, then 0. Be sure to listen for the support or opposition cues, and do not press 1, 0 until the position on which you are taking support or opposition has been asked for. When you press 1, 0 on your phone, please wait patiently, as it takes a short time for the operator to manually assign you a line number. After you receive this line number, you'll be placed in the queue for identification. Remember your line number, as this will be the number the moderator calls out to identify you when it's your turn to testify. When your number is called, your line will be opened, and at that time, you may address the committee. You must have your own phone unmuted before you begin testimony. It's important to note that every time you press 1, 0, you will toggle yourself into or out of the queue. Please listen carefully and press 1, 0 only once when you are prompted by the moderator. If you decide you do not need to testify, but are already in the queue, pressing 1 and then 0 will remove you. Public participation in the legislative process is important, and we want to give everyone the courtesy of being able to offer their opinions. For more detailed information, click on the link below.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay, for sharing that video. So the video like pretty much explained it. So what happens is when you call in, you'll hear like this audio recording that says that you're in listen only mode. So you can listen, but if you want to be given a number so that you can participate, then you have to press 1 and then press 0. So, you know, you can watch on your computer, but when you decide, you know, when ACA 4 is going to come up and you decide that you want to call in, call the number, you know, press the access code that's going to be available on the website. And then when you're ready to give your testimony, press 1 and then press 0. Try and do it as soon as possible, like as soon as ACA 4 comes up. That way, like you're already in line. And then when they open it up for the public comment on the phones, you'll be one of the first people to do that. So that's what I would suggest. Go ahead and watch the hearing, listen to the hearing on the phone. As soon as you see ACA 4 come up, press 1 and then 0 on the phone so that you'll be one of the first ones in queue to give your testimony. Then you'll hear over the phone, the chair will say like, okay, you know, now we're going to go to the phones. If you're interested in giving testimony, say your name, organization, and position, and press 1 and then 0. And then you'll hear the operator. The operator will tell you if you want to give testimony on this bill, press 1 and then 0. Once you press 1 and then 0, it'll take a couple of seconds, but then the operator will come on to your line and they'll give you a number. So they'll say, okay, caller, your number is 85 or whatever. And so remember your number, write it down, do whatever you need to do. Then when it goes to the phones, they'll start calling numbers. The numbers won't necessarily be in numerical order. They'll be in the order of whoever pressed 10 first. So if you're waiting for it to go in order, that's not how it's going to happen. Just listen. And then when they call your number, make sure that your phone is unmuted. They're unmuting you on their end. They'll tell you when they're ready to go. So they'll say, number 85, your line is open. And then I would say, Taina Vargas, initiate justice action in support. That's it. Then my line will be closed. It'll go to the next caller, and that's it. Are there any questions on that or comments? It's a little bit like hard to understand when it's like abstract, but like y'all like log into the hearing like early enough, you'll see how it goes and it'll make sense. It'll be fine. Jay, could I get the next slide, please? All right, yep. So again, these are the calls to action. We're just going to be asking folks to call in and support of ACA 4. We're asking folks to also boost it on your social media. And then, you know, once the hearing is over and we have an idea of who it is we need to meet with in the district, we'll be following up with folks, especially if you live in that district, to set up in-person meetings. I think, Jay, you also had a doc that you were going to share that has instructions on how to call in.
Yes, I did. I'll drop the link to that right now. And I also just shared the link for how to find out who your representative is if you don't know. And if you live in one of the districts where when you log in, it shows you 2 different representatives, you can contact me and I can help you determine by looking at the new redistricting map to see which district you're actually living in now.
Yeah, well, I mean, it should be updated on the Find Your Rep pages by now. So you shouldn't have to look at the new maps page. But was that it, Jay? Was there another slide or are we done? Okay. Well, yep, I think that's it for me. Are there any questions or comments in terms of calling in to support ACA 4? Again, it's Wednesday, April 19th, 9 a.m. ACA 4 will be heard closer to the end of the agenda, but you can, you know, call in and listen or log on and watch as soon as the hearing starts. Go ahead, Sophia.
Hey, what's up, everyone? So the critical moment to make sure we get in line and like flood the lines is that the minute we hear them announce ACA 4 is coming up, or that we see Isaac, or when would you recommend like that critical moment to be?
Yeah, I would say when ACA 4 comes up, I mean, they'll prompt you. They'll let you know, like, okay, you know, if you want to speak in support or opposition of this bill, like press 10. So you'll be prompted at the time, but I would just say, like, you know, make sure that you start paying attention as soon as ACA 4 comes up. And again, they're only going to let the phone the phone, oh my God, testimony go for 15 minutes. So hopefully enough people will call in to take up that full 15 minutes, or maybe it'll just be all support and it'll be less than 15 minutes. But either way, we're planning on showing like both in the room and on the phone lines that there's way more support for this bill than opposition. And I should say, as of now, there's no registered opposition, and I still don't know who, if anybody, is going to be giving their testimony in opposition in the room. So we might find out just before or the day of.
Yeah, I just want to take a second to thank you for giving us that lived experience and that great tip, because like you said, like today we watched, almost a whole day of committee hearings, of public safety committee hearing, and just seeing the way that the bills are pulled, the questions are asked, the testimonies given, and the voting, like that is like a great tip that as soon as the bill is called, to jump on the phone and hurry up and get in line. And I just also too want to speak to just the value of testimony, with the testimony that the witnesses give and how it actually sways a lot of the representatives. Some representatives are not really experienced on the issues or even the bill. So the testimony really helps out. And then also too, to see that it is supported by so many members of the public, including members of the organization. From my opinion, for what I'm able to see from the outside looking in, someone who's never worked in the Capitol, it seems like it's really effective, and representatives really, listen to it and hear it, especially also too when you meet them personally and you speak about the bill in private and you give them the context. It's able to really help them. So definitely need that support, need folks to show up. And I just wanted to add that to the great conversation that's already taken place.
Yep, absolutely. The more support we get, the better. And I know this is something that we always talk about in Institute as well, but the policy committees, this is like really the only opportunity for the public to really participate in the hearing processes. Once it makes it to the Appropriations Committee, most of the time they don't have hearings. It'll just be on a suspense file and move through really quickly without public input. There's no public input on the floor. So the next time that there's going to be an opportunity for public input for ACA 4 will be when we make it to the Senate Elections Committee. And one thing that I didn't mention is that for constitutional amendments, they don't have to go along the same timeline as other bills. So the deadlines that apply to other bills don't apply to ACAs. So that means that we have no idea, like after we pass the Elections Committee, we have no idea when we're going to go to appropriations. We have no idea when we're going to go to the floor. We have no idea when we're going to make it to the Senate. If it's anything like how it was with ACA 6, which became Prop 17, it could be 9 months of nothing. And then we go through 3 committees in 6 days. So we have no idea how it's going to go. This is one area where we have control over the situation. We know the hearing is this date. The public can participate. So it's a big deal. We want to get as many people engaged as possible.
Definitely. Thank you again for that that great context, and especially on the ACA and the timeframes and how it works. At this point, if anyone has any questions, leave no stone unturned. Now is the time to raise your hand digitally, or drop it in the chat, or unmute if you're the first person. We want to make sure that everybody has all the context and tools that they need to help support this transformative legislation and make sure that we re-enfranchise folks who are completing their census.
Go ahead, David, I see your hand.
So I know that we're early when it comes down to finding opposition, and I was wondering if there is like a strategy for maybe address this opposition and maybe convince some of them to come on to our side as we go through this process.
What was the last part of what you said?
Because like in this committee, we have 2 people you mentioned that need some work, Gail Perrin and Blanca Rubio. They are the 2 people that we need to maybe convince somehow, call them if we live in the district and whatnot. But I'm also thinking on the long term, when we go into the next stages, do we have already maybe a couple of other people that might be listed as possible opposition?
Yes, so the Free the Vote Legislative Committee has been working for several weeks now, and like we have an extensive list with a lot of notes. We already started doing legislative visits, and Assemblymember Isaac Bryan is already having conversations with folks. So we have this huge internal tracker where we're tracking the members who we're confident are going to vote yes, the members who we think are leaning yes, the members who we don't know yet, the members who we think are leaning no, and the members who are for sure a no. So we do have a strategy in terms of like, for, first reaching out to all the people who we don't know what their position is, finding out what their position is, finding out what concerns or questions they may have and starting to address them. So on March 29th, we had like a first round of lobby visits where IJ Action, IJ, ACLU, League of Women Voters, and Anti-Recidivism Coalition met with about like 20 offices, I think. They tried to hit like 30 offices, but couldn't get to everybody. Started sussing out like what some of the questions and concerns are. So on the 19th, as I mentioned, after the hearing, we're actually following up and doing more legislative visits. So we're going to be following back up with some of the folks we met with already. We're going to be hitting up some of the folks who are our targets. We're attempting to meet with 40 assembly members. So we're attempting to meet with half of the assembly on April 19th. And based on the questions and concerns that have been coming up, we do have a really strong list of talking points, lots of background research and information to address the concerns, and do everything that we can to secure yes votes from legislators.
Thank you for your answer, Diana.
And then again, so after the April 19th hearing and lobby visits, we'll probably have like a much clearer sense of like who's a for sure yes, who's a for sure no, because those are the people that we don't need to worry about. If there's anybody who's leaning yes, leaning no, in the middle, we don't know, those are going to be the people who we'll be targeting. And we'll continue to have those visits in Sacramento, but that's when we'll also start reaching out to you all and people in the community and being like, hey, if you live in this person's district, have a meeting with them in person about it. This is something that we've already started doing on staff. Like Shervin and I met with our assembly member, who's Jesse Gabriel. Jay met with his assembly member, Jasmeet Baines. Emiliano met with his assembly member, Miguel Santiago. We also met with like some other local Valley folks like Pilar Chiavo. So with folks we already have a relationship with, we've already been meeting with them and doing the kind of like in-district work. But yeah, that's something that'll be an ongoing strategy.
Any more questions or comments before we move on? Okay, looks like Roy, are you trying to say something or no? Okay, well, thank you so much, Tanya, for that amazing breakdown and context around testifying, the committee hearing, and how to support. So again, we're asking folks to call in with those Me Too's, and also just want to take a second to round out the fact that this is why, IJ Action, we have an imprint on hosting member trainings every month, so that way folks can learn about these processes, be involved, and also, learn how you could unlock that power that you already hold as a person who's impacted or as a person who is just an ally in this fight. It's like, it doesn't, like, we're not going to transform you and just put you on the table and put things in you that you don't have. That's one thing that IJ has already taught, has taught us, that we already have the power within us. We have the lived experience, we have the skill set, we have everything that we need to be powerful advocates and to also lead our fights for transformative change. And we just, want to help you unlock that's already in you, and to continue to be just amazing advocates, and to be the drivers of change within this democracy. And so just want to again plug those member trainings, and also let you know that for this month, because of this historic hearing coming up to re-enfranchise folks on potentially the 50th anniversary, that folks, that the law was passed to take away people's right to vote who are incarcerated. We have an opportunity to pass it on the 50th year, ACA 4, and we will, to restore the right to vote to folks who are completing their sentences. And so because of that, again, member training this month will be canceled and will resume next month. So I just want to plug that again. And also to say that our legislative scorecards that will be coming out, and also our voter guide is really powerful in showing why we should pay attention to the way, that our representatives are voting. So that said, I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to wrap us up here. And if I could share my screen just for 1 second. And so again, our next general meeting will be on May 9th. And I ask folks to RSVP now. I'll go ahead and drop that link in the chat so that way you have it readily available. And here is the link right here, so that folks can go ahead and RSVP, and just know that we will again be wrapping up the next stages in ACA 4 and any other major events that come up now between now and then. So if there is any questions or anything before we go, we can go ahead and address those. Or if anybody has any comments or anything that needs to be shared. If not, I just want to put my last push, and that's for folks to please recommend through nomination either, or by directly submitting the application to friends and allies, and help us reach our goal of 100 members. We're close to that 100 official members, although a lot of supporters are in circle. If you would like to help us reach that milestone, please recommend IJ Action to a friend. Emiliano, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, before we wrap up, all I wanted to say was to follow us on Instagram, to repost while we're up there, and to lift up ACA 4 and lift up the accounts. We really want to get a lot of movement on what we're doing in Sacramento, let people know, and also get more support for the following hearings that await us.
Thank you. Yeah. ACA 4, Free the Vote Coalition. And again, like to thank you all for attending IJ Action's April general meeting. And we'll go ahead and give you a night back. Feel free to unmute and say goodbyes and farewells and everything else.
All right, everybody, good night.
Great information. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
See you on the 19th.
All right.
Thanks. Have a great night.
Good night, everybody.